This week's show is brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts, helping podcasters get their shows off the ground and running at a low cost. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com today to get started. Hit up the Contact Us section, fill out your information, and your show could be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all your favorite podcast platforms in no time. It's professional sounding podcast production done the right way at a low rate without you ever having to think about any of the production stuff. You don't have to learn how to edit. You don't have to learn how to get your show wherever you need it to get to. All you have to do is sign up with Pretty Easy Podcasts, worry about the content, worry about being creative and doing your show your way. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com.
This is head coach of the Tampa Bay Vipers, Mark Trestman, and this is the XFL Show.
More burger for the love of football. 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 Let's go.
If you smell what the XFL is cooking.
Welcome, football fans. This is For the Love of Football, and this is the XFL Show. I'm Alan.
And I'm Bryant.
The NFL is kicking off this week, and some of our favorite XFL ballers are playing this fall. Who made what rosters, and what should we expect? It's episode 135, and we're a spring football podcast, Bryant, but we're talking some fall guys today, man. Here we go. Football's here.
Football's here. Your fall guy is not typical, I guess, fall guy fashion when you talk about putting the blame on someone, but this is those guys we saw in the spring that we cheered so hard for now playing some football in the fall.
And we're going to go over all those names that made 53-man rosters in the NFL, players who formerly were XFL players, and then there were some practice squatters we're going to talk about, and of course the notable cuts that'll all be coming up, plus our expectations for what we're going to watch this fall football-wise as XFL fans. More of that, plus we're going to hear from one of your calls in the XFL Fan Line, and we're going to have a good time here in a good, crisp football talking podcast, Bryant. It's good to be back on video again. Thanks to everybody for following us, subscribing on YouTube to the channel. Get those notifications dinged whenever we got an episode coming out, which are coming out what now, Bryant? Friday I have to have this out by?
Every single Friday morning on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube.
Yes, at XFL Show on Twitter. And yes, as you heard, we are a production of Pretty Easy Podcasts. You can start your own podcast by going to prettyeasypodcasts.com now, going to the Contact Us section, and getting started that way. You get your own producer and everything and sound great at a very low rate. All right, Bryant, we got some Dinkin' and Dunkin' action to go around here, as well as that XFL Fan Line. We got a call with an interesting question. 724-5654-XFL's that number. But what about Sam Schwartzstein on the Andy Staples show? Bryant, close personal, long-time, dear good friend of the show, was on the Andy Staples show talking some football, and he said something interesting about his ideas going into the season, one that didn't come to fruition, but to dwell on it is a pretty interesting topic.
Yeah, because I think it relates to what possibly could happen in a future season of the XFL. So I think him exploring this was actually kind of a little bit before his time, or before our time. How do you say it? Before?
I'd say before the XFL's time, before the bubble time, before bubble time too in modern sports. What's going on right now? It was a bubble idea, basically. Sam Schwartzstein's initial pitch, he said on the Andy Staples show, if you caught it, I caught it on Reddit thanks to whoever reposted that. I missed that show, but I listened to that clip. Pretty cool. Said his initial idea was to have teams with team names and everything representing their cities maybe, but playing in the same location. That would have put less of a burden on the XFL to fill seats, according to Sam Schwartzstein, but also maybe get people to gravitate towards certain teams knowing that, okay, this team is there playing in who knows where, Orlando, Texas, but they have that New York in front of their team name. Maybe when they do go to move into city stadiums, people will have already built a love for that team. It was an idea he said he thought of, he floated out there, but basically the main thing was the bubble concept. XFL again innovating. They were ready to do that way back when, and they already did. We were down there for the training camp, Bryant.
They did it for a few things, right? They did it for training camp, and it worked. But I think, to Sam's point, I think his decision or his idea was more financially driven more than anything else. It really wasn't something that I think on paper might have even worked if you're trying to involve markets and try to get them excited. I don't know if I could get excited for an LA team that wasn't playing in LA.
Yeah.
But financially speaking, it makes total sense. Just, I don't know about being, as a fan, how excited could I actually be to see my team playing in Orlando?
Yeah, so what I took from this was, okay, love the thought of the bubble idea, but then in terms of generating fans in certain cities, interest, and maybe one day using that and putting them into different towns, I don't know how that would have worked. At the end of it, I'm glad that the XFL went the route of some of the more smaller venues, some of the more, the passionate places like Seattle, getting a team, and of course St. Louis, like targeting those areas, I think what happened was a better idea than what a bubble might have been. But for the next version of the XFL, bubble might be the only way to go. And it also might be, even with the option of playing in stadiums, as the Chiefs and Texans are kicking off with some fans in the stands in KC, Bryant, while we're live on
LA
tape.
had way more fans than Kansas City.
Yeah. Wildcats got a bigger crowd.
Wildcats were totally, come on.
But, if this becomes the norm where more fans are going to be filtered in and it'll be safer, the XFL might go back to what was, the situation. But a bubble situation, as of this moment, I said, if you're planning it, would probably be the way to go. Maybe pick Sam Schwartzstein's brain a little bit on that, because he had the initial idea.
On just that, pick his brain on a lot of stuff.
Everything.
Remember,
the guy was.
We're about to watch it. Alan, we're about to watch the opening touchback of the NFL season here.
Yeah, I love also. He set out a tweet just now before the game kicked off, didn't he? We got to get him on the show.
Yeah,
he
said something. Tweet at him if there's a touchback or an injury on a kickoff, because the XFL had 90% returns and no injuries.
It's true. That's all facts. All facts right there from Sam Schwartzstein. Check out that interview he did on the Andy Staples Show. We're definitely going to try to get him as one of our first guests back on the show, because that guy was one of multiple people that were hired that were the perfect place or the perfect time in terms of building up the XFL, all the rules, innovations, and ideas he had. Very, very smart man and great football mind, Sam Schwartzstein, friend of the show, and really interesting thoughts and revelations there he had on his ideas as the XFL 2020 was being put together. Bryant, we need to go to the XFL fan line, though, because we had someone call in who asked a question about another league I'm fond of, the CFL, and a proposal they had, if you're ready to hear that.
I like the second part of this, so I think I'm ready for his call.
Let's do it. It's the XFL fan line. Standard text messaging rates apply, but you could always call it toll-free 24/7, 365, really anytime, and leave a message just like this one from Argo, 724-565-4XFL.
Hey, guys, first-time caller. I just wanted to say that I'm a fan of your show. I'm also a fan of the Wildcats. I know there's talks and possible proposal of the team moving to San Diego, which I think will be a big mistake, honestly. Just like it was said on the last show, you can't judge the profit and the progression of a team by just 5 games. Also, like Alan, I'm a huge CFL fan. I'm the biggest Argo fan in Southern California, and I'm bummed that there will be no season this year. What are the thoughts that there could be a possible XFL, CFL, exhibition or merge? What do you guys think of that type of possibility? Thanks.
He didn't leave his name there, Bryant. So I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him Argo, because he's the biggest Argos fan in SoCal.
How about Largo? Largo?
L.A. Argo. Oh, I like that. Largo, the Argo fan in L.A. or in SoCal. So yeah, my heart is breaking for no CFL. I mean, just because, Bryant, if you had the time, If you had the dedication to just dip that toe in and then maybe another toe and then go full, you would fall in love with the CFL too. It's a very fun league. The people who follow the CFL and love it are also very fun. People like Largo, excuse me. Largo. And it not happening is heartbreaking, but his idea there, a merger, or some kind of exhibition, maybe, I would be all for. I mean, we see that across, soccer. You see like the MLS All-Stars against a European club type deal. Pro wrestling's done it many times with different promotions having events together. But with the CFL and the XFL, a way they could do it, I would love to see it, is pretty much an all-star showdown is what I would like to see. You take them from both leagues. Or if in a non-season situation, maybe a preseason situation for both leagues, if the CFL comes back and when the XFL does, preseason, maybe an exhibition type deal. But I would definitely like to see some sort of competition between them. I don't know about a full-on merger where the leagues are basically talking AFL, NFL style. I don't think I would be for that. The CFL's got way too much of a history to take an influx or take a bunch of teams from the United States. That is a Canadian league, and those are different rules. But I'd like to see maybe a home and home CFL rules, XFL rules in one, and like the off season when all things get settled and the leagues are back. I'd love it.
You can't have a exhibition game with two teams with two different rules. Like you can't do that.
A home and home. That's what a home and home's for.
No, it's horrible. Look, I get it. I think we even talked about this probably sometime in 2019, maybe even 2018, if this was a possibility. I don't know. You can't have an exhibition game in a full contact sport like football. Like, especially, what if it's like an all-star game for one and then like a proof of something for another? Like you're going to get these one team not trying, one team really trying a lot harder than the other. What if one team looks horrible compared to the other one? Then does that devalue your league completely? Like, there's just too many risks. No way.
Well, what if like the something's on the line though? Games. What if there's like what if it's like a big bonus for everybody who on the winning team? What about that? League pride on the line, and plus money,
league pride, and a
trophy like Paul Bunyan's axe in college football
like Raw
with
and SmackDown,
Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Like, no one cares. At the end of the day, no one actually cares.
At the end of the day, it would be a great thing to promote, and I think an excellent televised event. And I'm with Largo on that, but not like a full-on merger. Don't think that would work. Like we said, two different sets of rules. But great call. Thanks to Largo, the Argo fan in SoCal, for calling in 724-565-4XFL. Again, that number wide open for you to leave a voicemail on, get on the show, ask a question, leave a comment, and of course, send a text message too as well. If you're ready, I'm ready. We got some cuts. We've got some roster spots that were filled. XFLers in the NFL, Bryant, the main course of today's episode. We're going to have a very, very interesting question to ask each other in the hot read coming up. But if you're ready for the cover two, we got some names to go through.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this since freaking spring, dude.
Let's rock. Here it is, this week's cover two.
Fumble the snap. Walker picks it up. Now trying to turn something out of nothing and into the end zone for the most unlikely of touchdowns. Off the fumbled snap, P.J. Walker picks it up and runs into the end zone for another Roughnecks touchdown.
P.J. Walker. Put in P.J. You probably can't read my sign back there, but I put it up, Bryant. Put in P.J. He's a Carolina Panther. He was pretty much the XFL MVP for all intents and purposes. He landed on the Carolina Panthers. He'll be Teddy Bridgewater's backup. Some of the biggest news going into this NFL season for an XFL fan right there. And, of course, he is playing for his old college coach at Temple, Matt Rule there.
That's I think we all expected him to really, push for that backup role, maybe even a starting role. But when he got there, I didn't think any of us thought that he wasn't going to make this team. And PJ Walker was above and beyond the best quarterback in the XFL in the spring. So I think to see this kind of the way we saw Tommy Maddox in 2001 kind of be the best quarterback in the game during the season. Well, I'm
Big
just
shoes.
saying how we saw a QB who was the best overall QB in the league. How is he not going to get a job? PJ Walker better than more than half of the backups, I'm sure, in the NFL currently.
Oh, yeah.
Just by looking at him. So
I would say so. I would love him to. I wish he was a Pittsburgh Steeler. I was telling him during a family fantasy draft last night, saying, man, I wish we had PJ Walker, guys. And he goes, get out of here. Probably a lot of them didn't follow the XFL, obviously, as much as I did. But, man, he's an impressive player. I can't wait to see him get in there. We're going to talk about PJ and all the players that made the cut onto NFL teams from the XFL. Will PJ be the next Tommy Maddox? He has the opportunity.
He can't make it. Let's don't kick it.
Absolutely. But let's talk about the notable cuts real quick. From those Carolina Panthers, PJ Walker's favorite target is a Roughneck. Cam Phillips, leader in touchdowns in the XFL, cut by the Carolina Panthers. Did not land on a practice squad either yet. Obviously, this is a crazy NFL season, so a lot of movement can happen. More opportunities can spring up, but we've been talking about him. He was brought in later to camp, did not make the cut. He was waived, along with Savon Walker with the Pittsburgh Steelers, the leader in sacks in the XFL, did not make the cut on the 53-man or the practice squad for the Steelers. And then Bryant, two of your favorite players, wide receiver Demornay Pearson-L, the St. Louis Battlehawk receiver, was
the
in
best
camp.
L to ever play football, by the way.
Shut your mouth. Antoine Randall L forever. But Pearson-L, very good in the XFL, did not make the cut for the Las Vegas Raiders. And then a kicker who never missed anything in the XFL, Austin Mcguinness, was with the Rams and did not make the cut. How hyped would you have been if your Rams had an XFL kicker?
I'd be like, I know that guy. I know him. Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. A couple players, right? Cam Phillips, we'll start with him, our offensive player of the year, if you remember back when we did our rankings of players. And it was a surprise to me that it took so long for him to get on our roster. I guess maybe people thought that it was more PJ than Cam. There was one bad game by Cam. I remember, I think it was week 3, maybe it was week 4. So I guess I expect him to land somewhere throughout the season. It's a long season, a lot of spots. I think he'll eventually land. You don't really have too many wide receivers on a practice squad, but and Pearson-L, I think the same thing. You know, he had the same problems with the AF. He was on a team, then he came off. He was on. He'll land somewhere, I'm sure, or maybe he's a spring football kind of guy. Who knows? And Walker Allen, I really thought he had a chance. I thought he was going to make it with your Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm surprised he didn't make it to the practice squad. Maybe he. I don't know.
I have to say, yeah, that was the biggest surprise to me of all the. I mean, really, as my blunt uncle told me yesterday, come on, Al, come on. He was an XFL guy. He had an uphill battle. There was no way he was making this team with all the firepower on the Steeler defense. And part of that I understand, but also like Steelers, that is a position of need for them, one that they're kind of not grasping at straws for, but experimenting with different guys. So Walker comes into camp early. He was brought in by the Steelers early to go through camp and just didn't make that cut. So, I mean, obviously, one thing, I didn't get to go to Latrobe this year and even watch any of camp to see how he would have been going up against Marquise Pouncey and the Steelers offensive line, but no preseason games. Also, in a year where the XFL sent guys to NFL training camps, there was no preseason, Bryant, which was really when we were talking about it before all hell broke loose in the football world and the world at large just totally changed. This preseason was going to be gigantic for these XFL players looking for their NFL spots. But I have to attribute no preseason to some of these guys like Savon Walker not making the cut. But yeah, that's one of the major
live game action.
Yeah,
what these players need, right? Not training camps, not practices, games where they can actually be seen, things like that coaches are really looking for. That's what got them these jobs in the first place, was actual game action, you know. And then you cannot see that game action in front of you in preseason or wherever. It's going to hurt them. So a bad year for XFL in terms of trying to get players on NFL rosters, because you had that half season and you didn't have a preseason really where XFL stars can try to shine as much as possible. Didn't happen. Maybe not the best, but to see as many players as we do on practice squads, on actual active rosters, to think about all the challenges that they've had in front of them, it's actually kind of a positive.
Yeah, very hopeful with all the different rules too, like we've talked about in the NFL with practice squads. So that's one positive. So, and these guys aren't on those right now. So that's one thing to keep an eye out is what other guys get the call. If anything, let's hope the XFL gives them another opportunity if they don't get the opportunity they were looking for in the NFL. Let's go now to part 2 of the cover 2, though. The actual fall guys. The guys who made the cut. And these guys include PJ Walker, 53-man roster spots. They include tight end Colin Thompson with the Carolina Panthers as well. He was with the Tampa Bay Vipers in the XFL. Your good personal longtime close friend, former LA Wildcat tackle, Storm Norton, makes the LA Chargers.
Alan, real quick, because I know you're going to continue on with this list. How many people can say they've had dinner with a current NFL player?
Very few. I've had dinner with Storm Norton. You and I have. We've actually had dinner, I think, with other NFL. Edmund Britton, close personal long time.
Oh, no,
friend.
current. I'm sorry.
Current NFL player, yeah. What's with us only eating with tackles? I guess that's... I mean, I played offensive line. You didn't, so that's
AP genius tackles, too, by the way.
Yes. So it's really smart guys that play tackle. We love having dinner with those type of dudes. But Storm Norton makes the Chargers, and The Rock even tweeted out about Storm Norton, basically saying that's what it's all about. Guys like him getting the opportunity and killing it, going up against Joey, by God, Bosa in training camp of all people to earn his spot. That's how you know Storm Norton earned it with the Chargers.
You know it by watching him stumble down the field and just basically, water boy style, just tackling every single person and moving on to the next. Man,
pancakes,
sweeps
also,
or anything like that to his side was great.
Who knows? I don't know what happened, but Pep Hamilton's down there as well in LA with the Chargers, and probably was already impressed with how Norton wrecked his defense when LA played DC. So he probably had Pep Hamilton backing him up as well, but not like he needed it. Storm Norton just went in there and balled out in training camp, earned his spot. A lot of write-ups on him throughout Charger camp, and great to see one of the guys we really talked about all season long making a roster in the NFL. And then joining him, one of your favorite players, one of my favorite players to watch.
Called it.
A very special player to watch, and so special. We're going to play one of his highlights right here because it's just so spectacular.
Jones. Caught Parham.
Do you remember this?
Tight end rumbles down the sideline.
Jeez.
6'8" and speed.
And speed.
His second touchdown.
Do I
of the
remember
half.
this?
65 on that one. Woo. How about the long strider?
Donald Parham. More than a long. He's a gazelle. A gazelle.
No, well, you put it out as a gazelle. I think he stumbles a little bit more than he gracefully trots down the field.
Graceful, elegant, and just a crazy athlete, and a great target to have if you're any quarterback. All 70'2" of Donald Parham at tight end, joining the LA Chargers, and if he gets in there, Tyrod Taylor, whoever's played quarterback for them, doesn't really need to be too accurate because he got a huge catch radius with Donald Parham, which I'm sure helped him. Watch one of the things I'm watching. Chargers red zone offense this year. I'm going to be interested to see that.
I don't know how often it'll happen, given what they're doing there. But yes, if it happens, I might get the red zone channel just to watch Donald Parham on the ready.
The star of the red zone channel, Donald Parham. So those are
we all expected him, right?
Yes.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And those are the four guys that made 53-man rosters. Those are the fall guys that are on rosters right away, will be available to play this weekend. All four guys, two teams, Carolina and the Chargers. And then there are practice squatters. And these are guys that are available in the NFL season. Remember, we talked about this last week. In the NFL, the rules have changed, so you can bring up more practice squatters without losing their practice squad status twice a year for each guy, and they can remain on the practice squad and still play in live games. And we have a number of very, very big XFL names here that are on practice squads in the NFL. We'll see what kind of opportunity they get on a Sunday in the NFL. But Kenny Robinson, first up, was with Carolina, got waived, but ends up on the practice squad, the former Battlehawks safety, a rookie who unfortunately did not make the 53-man, but they were making a lot of different moves and was one of the final cuts. But he'll start his NFL career, Bryant, on the practice squad. Are you shocked?
What was he, a 5th rounder? I think he went in the 5th round of the draft. Maybe. I think that's kind of typically where a 5th rounder lands, unless he's outstanding. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him up at some point and actually play a game for the Carolina Panthers at some point.
So Kenny Robinson, practice squad with Carolina, and then Dallas has 2 XFL players, Savion Smith, the corner who played with the Roughnecks, former Alabama Crimson Tide there, and of course Antonio Callaway, the receiver for the Tampa Bay Vipers, who brought into the XFL. A lot of controversy over him being brought into the XFL. Didn't really make a huge mark in the XFL as a player, but was one of the names that stood out anyways. He'll be with the Dallas Cowboys practice squad along with Savion Smith. And then 2 players who did play a lot in the XFL and played very well in the XFL. Linebacker Edmund Robinson of the Roughnecks will be an Atlanta Falcon practice squad player along with cornerback Josh Hawkins, who is a Dallas Renegade stud. And they'll both be in the ATL, Bryant. Both those guys were, they were major factors for their teams.
Yeah, on the defensive side of the ball, you don't really get too much credit in the public's eye, but definitely impact players for both those teams. One of them undefeated.
Yep, and
in the XFL.
One of them. Now did Cam Phillips? Am I wrong? My memory's horrible. Didn't Cam Phillips not have one? Like, it was not a great game against Dallas in the XFL. Wasn't it because Josh Hawkins was really all over him all game, and so it
might have been that.
Yeah,
I
right.
think it was the Texas throwdown,
or it was another receiver. Just Hawkins had like a really standout game, shutting someone down. I forget who it was. It might have been Cam Phillips. That's the first one that sprung to my mind. My memory's horrible, but I remember the names and they stand out. I remember watching them in the XFL. 2 guys you might not remember because they're offensive linemen and you're biased against them, people, because you're not a nerd like me. ESPN came out with, oh my God, run block stats for offensive linemen this year. I cannot wait to read these nerdy articles all season. But I digress. Jerron Jones, a Guardian tackle. Anthony Coyle, a Guardian guard. Both practice squad players with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then you also have one of our favorites to watch, a beast, Jacques Patrick, running back. The Tampa Bay Vipers will be in Cincinnati along with Khalil McKenzie, who was a guard with the Wildcats, Bryant.
Yeah, no, I think Jacques Patrick, I saw him play live in LA for that great game with LA and Tampa. I was mesmerized by what I was seeing with him.
Big game, and also that was right after his father had passed away. Really emotional game. Standout for sure. Great player to watch. And then, he's in Cincinnati. So, these teams, if you also got to look at the NFL team they're on. If you're on a bad NFL team as a practice squatter, good on you. You're probably going to get a shot. Probably. Michael Dunn, who was a tackle with the Dragons, made it into the Browns practice squad. And a fullback, Johnny Stanton from the Wildcats, made it onto the Browns practice squad. Your face looks like, I don't remember the Wildcats ever playing a fullback. Remember when we expected them to have like 3 fullbacks? Or run like a full wide or some student body left stuff?
I feel like the Johnny Stanton. I'm trying to remember if he actually where he
Norton
played.
Chow did not use him too much. Maybe he was more on the special team side, but he made a practice squad. Awesome for him. And then the last 2 here, Jordan Ta'amu is practice squatting in this game right now. Practice squatting meaning he's not anywhere on the field. He's a practice squad member for the Chiefs. He was waived and brought into the practice squad. Jordan Ta'amu, the Battlehawks quarterback.
He was one of the ones that was immediately signed when the players became available by the Kansas City Chiefs. Very interesting choice by him to go to Kansas City. Maybe he wanted the recognition from, or I'm sorry, the mentorism, I think, from Mahomes, possibly.
When I think about that, though, that's one of the big tragedies of no preseason is we could have got Jordan Ta'amu as a Chief in the preseason, just seeing him.
We could have got
try to emulate
quarters from the man.
I know we would have saw a lot of him, and everybody would have been saying, "Oh, they got a mini Mahomes." They would have been saying because he would have been playing in that Andy Reid offense and probably looking good. Last player to make a practice squad here, long snapper Nick Moore with the Baltimore Ravens, and they're the Baltimore Ravens, so I won't spend any more time talking about him. But congratulations to him for getting into the NFL practice squad, and those are all the names of the fall guys in the NFL who played in the XFL, Bryant, and really excited for a bunch of stuff in the NFL this year as an XFL fan. What do you say in this week's Hot Read? We asked some important questions we need to answer and get ready for as XFL fans with the NFL here, starting right now as we speak.
Let's do it, man. I'm excited for this one.
Here we go. This week's Hot Read. Going to ask you, XFL players in the NFL, who's going to be successful? So the first part, who's going to be the most successful this season?
Put in PJ.
Put in PJ.
Put in PJ.
Still need this. I'm trying to light this room better for everybody now that we're back on YouTube, and it's just so dark in here. But yeah, put in PJ.
I like the shadow you're casting on your Battlehawks ball, by the way.
I know. And if I had a green screen in here, it would be just horrible. But PJ, put him in. I want to see him play, but will he be the most successful XFL player this season? Bryant, we just went over 17 names, guys who will have the opportunity. Who do you see being the most successful this season? Now, that might not be a whole lot of success. That might end up just being, the guy played in a game. Who knows? We still don't know what kind of playing time these guys will get. But who do you see it being in terms of the most success?
Who do I see it being? I have to go. You're going to have to go to SoCal. You're going to have to go to the LA Chargers, and it's got to be between Storm Norton and Parham. Only because I think they'll play the most out of the players that did make a 53-man roster. Now, we might see some people from the practice squad come up, and in that case, you might see one of those kind of surprise, right? But at this moment in time, I just don't see how you don't select either one of those, man. And I think I'm going to go with Storm, my buddy Storm. I think he's going to have the better season of them all.
I'm gonna go with Storm Norton as well, for the fact that I think they're going to probably put in some extra protection when they put in their young quarterback Justin Herbert. Maybe with Storm Norton thrown in there on the offensive line. Donald Parham getting targets in that offense might be tough for him. In terms of P.J. Walker, you're waiting for an injury, right? You're waiting for. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is the guy there, unless he
struggle
or horrible.
Yeah.
And then Colin Thompson. I mean, just to see what they do with their tight end in Carolina under Matt Rule, I have no idea how he'll be utilized, and wasn't utilized too often really with the Vipers. So going based on what we've saw in the XFL, what we know about these four players at least, I will go Storm Norton as well with this season. And then who knows? I mean, maybe Joe Mixon goes down and Jacques Patrick gets into the lineup with the Bengals and becomes a Pro Bowler. You don't know. Stranger things have happened in the NFL. So this season's success, though, the money, if you're Vegas and they had this as a prop bet, I think Storm Norton would probably be the favorite.
The reps that he's going to get, he's going to get plays every game. You have to imagine, even if it's just a series break for one of the tackles anyway, that are on the Chargers. I just feel like he's going to get the most opportunity. Now, if PJ Walker comes in and gets a fair shot at playing some games, what do I think he can do down there? What do you think he can do for the Carolina Panthers? You know more about the Carolina Panthers than I do at this moment in time. Can he get in there and actually make an impact with the team that's going to be around him?
I mean,
because PJ has to look good. The team has to look good for PJ to look good. Storm Norton can look great, and maybe, not the team so much.
Yeah, I think PJ Walker getting into the game means that the Panthers are struggling as a team. But the thing about him is he is the kind of player who can make some plays that could make up for a missed assignment by someone, or like we played the highlight earlier, a broken play. So Teddy Bridgewater is going to be, I think now after the horrible injury, going to be a much more cerebral and statuesque type quarterback that they're going to ask to move around a lot less than PJ would if he got in the game. So if PJ got into the game, I think he would be an immediate burst of energy, thinking of what situation would bring him in there. You're struggling or you lost your quarterback due to injury. So PJ getting in there, I think, he would bump up to that favorite. Oh, man, the opportunities there. He could be that most successful XFL player, that Tommy Maddox in the NFL. But then again, he will be thrust into the Carolina Panthers and, the teams that they're playing. They're going to be playing the Saints. They're going to be playing the new Bucks that everyone's so scared of. And who knows if it's a bounce back year for Atlanta over in the South. It's the NFL. It's going to be different for PJ Walker. I don't think he's going to be able to fumble the ball and grab it and get into the end zone miraculously. But that guy is a dog when it comes to being a competitor. I really want to see him in there. I want to see him the most of all, but I think if you're betting, Storm Norton's the guy to bet on. If you're rooting for anybody, you got to be rooting for PJ Walker. Put in PJ.
Cordell went down is why Tommy Maddox went in, right?
I think Cordell got benched for Tommy Maddox. Like I said, my memory's horrible. And I remember the Steelers were terrible right before Maddox got in. And then they became like a wild card team, and then Ben Roethlisberger came in and saved the franchise and brought him back to Super Bowls. But Tommy Maddox coming in there for Cordell, if it was an injury or just poor play, similar situation, though, to what PJ Walker will be facing. It is deja vu all over again when it comes to the XFL MVP, uncrowned this time, going to the NFL into a pretty good spot.
I don't want it to be mistaken that we're rooting for injury for anyone except for these players to get a chance.
I love Teddy Bridgewater.
What we're doing.
Awesome player.
This is a great story, right? Yeah. So I don't think that's the problem. I think we want these players to succeed. Whatever opportunities they get, we hope that they take advantage of them. I think Storm Norton's going to take advantage of it mightily. How he was not already on an NFL roster to begin with, I don't know. Maybe he just didn't want to be. I don't know. But now that he is, I expect him to fully make an impact for the Chargers. You know what? Jordan Ta'amu might get a crack at it. Who knows? Backup goes down or something like that. Or just, let's put Ta'amu in. He's our emergency this week instead of who's the backup in Kansas City? Moore.
It was last year. I'll have to look that up. But, PJ Walker, Will Greer is also the situation. We didn't bring his name up, and we did have people reach out to us. So you didn't bring up Will Greer when he talked about PJ Walker going to Carolina. And, we I guess, saw their depth chart come out for this week, and I guess Will Greer is ahead of PJ Walker. But when push comes to shove, do you expect Matt Rule to play some Will Greer or a guy he coached in college? I feel like when that at the end of it, I think I would bet on PJ Walker getting in ahead of him, but who knows? There are people that know the Panthers better than we do, Bryant, but I would hope if that was the case in that situation, PJ got the spot over Will Greer.
Oh, I'd hope he would for sure. Whether or not that's what they decide to do, I guess that remains to be seen, but still,
if
okay,
ever.
Fine. Don't burst my bubble. PJ Walker, put him in. Come on.
Put in PJ Walker.
Put in PJ.
I'm looking it up here.
PJ.
We're living in 2019. Chad Henny is now the backup to Patrick Mahomes, and he's the only quarterback on the 53-man currently, according to the depth chart I'm looking at. So Jordan Ta'amu might not be too far off. It's always just a couple plays away for someone on a practice squad and one play away from a guy who's a direct backup. All right, what about in their career? Last question. Of all 17 guys we talked about, who will have the most successful NFL career of these XFLers?
Career. Ooh. Career. Man, that's a I didn't even see that one at the very bottom. You snuck that one in on me. Wasn't ready to answer this one. I'm gonna go Parham. I think Donald Parham is gonna show to be a huge red zone force in the NFL.
Yep, that's a solid pick. He's got the youth on his side,
mind you.
He's got the size, he's got the youth, and the unique skill set to make him very successful and coveted as a player in the NFL. If I'm going to bet on someone, though, I think over the course of their career, it is between Donald Parham, and I'm still going to give a chance to Kenny Robinson, who is a great football player and is so young, a rookie on a practice squad. I think once he gets his shot, he'll prove himself. He played pro downs in the XFL at a very young age. I'm going to go with Kenny Robinson then, if you're going with Donald Parham. Carolina Panthers practice squad.
Yeah, I mean, I fully expect him to get some sort of shot this year at some point during the season. And if he gets in there,
at least to play some special teams.
He can make an impact on a lot of places on that football, special teams, punts, things like that, or just maybe playing safety. Who knows? He did well. I think he had 2 interceptions in the XFL. Manned a great defense back there. He had Will Hill to learn from, if you remember that, Alan. So Kenny Robinson could definitely have a great career in the NFL. I can see it, man.
Keep your eyes peeled on those practice squads, like we've been saying the last couple of weeks. Keep your eyes on the movements from week to week in the NFL, because there'll be a lot of that, and we might see some XFL names pop up more and more throughout the season when it comes to who's getting shots at 53-man rosters and whatnot. Fantasy drafts happened this past week for a lot of people. Brian, I had some. Did you draft anybody that was in the XFL into an NFL fantasy team?
I did not. I didn't actually do fantasy football this year because I totally forgot that football was starting, honestly, with everything going on.
It's true. A lot of people are. I mean, it took doing this podcast, I do my Hail to Pit podcast as well, getting for college. Doing these shows what actually got me hyped. More so than fantasy or reading any articles. I am excited for football. It's on right now. We're going to close up our show here now so I could watch the rest of this game, Brian. But, I'm definitely going to – I didn't draft – I felt bad. I didn't draft P.J. Walker or Donald Parham. I should have, but I did not.
Well, based on the people you're drafting with, Alan,
leagues.
It seems like those people will be very available for a while. So
yes,
based on just for the simple fact that they played in the XFL,
I got Russell Wilson, so I should just get. Why not get PJ as my backup and just stash him just in case.
Look at bye weeks. You never know. It might actually fall in there. But either way, like Alan said, we are watching the game now because we record on Thursdays for the show to drop every single Friday on your favorite podcast app. That's either Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you want to take a look. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at XFL Show. And now you can look at us again. We're back on. Hi. YouTube.com/This Is the XFL Show, the official YouTube page of This Is the XFL Show.
Yeah, buddy. Football's back. Watch some fall football and get ready for spring football whenever that comes back. We are a spring football podcast, but we'll be keeping our eye throughout the fall on these XFLers in the NFL and probably, have some NFL college discussions as well. Bryant, I'm going to try to get him as pumped up for it as I am. Although I know you see all these people in the stands at the Chiefs game going, oh my goodness, no!
What's going on? What's going on right now?
We'll see what happens, and we'll be talking about it right here. And of course, we're keeping our eye on social media, seeing what the Rock's tweeting, Danny Garcia, and anybody else related to the XFL. We're going to have some guests coming on here real soon to discuss maybe their time in the XFL and looking forward. So that's all coming up. We're going to be here each and every week for you. So thank you so much for subscribing to the YouTube channel, of course, on your favorite podcast platform. Leave a review. That helps spread the word about the star. Yes, 5 stars. 5 stars.
Even though we're not in the Tokyo Dome, 5 stars.
5-star review on that Apple Podcast. And get everybody listening to This Is the XFL Show. Tell your friends about it, and let's keep this thing rolling. We're on that new road to kickoff, whenever that is, baby. We're here for it, always. You and us. We'll see you next week. For Bryant, I'm Alan. This is the XFL Show. Remember, they're listening.